Morning everybody, welcome to another sunny day. Today's video is going to be about looking after rugs, repairing them, cleaning them and that sort of thing. I have recently, if you've watched my videos, sorted through all my rugs and stuff to see what I've got, if I'm okay for the winter and that sort of thing. I try and do it at the end of the spring, but it's always good to check that I did it properly. It's nothing worse than coming down one morning and deciding you need to put a rug on, or a slightly thicker rug on, and discovering it's got a giant hole in it or the strap's broken off or something. So I have already done that, but I thought I'd take you through sort of what I do for repairing and cleaning rugs and washing them. I am probably not the best person at washing and cleaning rugs. Obviously it's important to keep them clean for disease and rubbing and that sort of thing. None of my horses, I should touch wood when I say that, none of my horses have had any sort of skin problems, with the exception of Sweet Itch on Fidget, but that's obviously not transferred through dirty rugs and that sort of thing. But they haven't had any other sort of skin problems, and because I keep them on their own, away from like a big yard and stuff, they're not going to catch anything from other horses or ponies. We don't go to shows and things where obviously you can catch things as well, so I'm probably not as good at washing my rugs as perhaps I should be. So I thought I'd start with New Zealand rugs. As far as New Zealand or turnout rugs are concerned, I don't wash them. I used to send them to be washed. Obviously then once they have been washed they have to be re-waterproofed, but I find, or I used to find, which is the reason I don't do it anymore, that they're never as waterproof again. Once they've been washed they aren't very waterproof, so I don't do that anymore. To be honest, generally they don't last many years. They usually get ripped and totally destroyed anyway, so they don't I don't have them for that long anyway, but also they only go on one horse, so they don't get shared around, so that's not going to transfer any sort of skin problems, which I've already talked about anyway. But there's no point having a New Zealand or a turnout rug if it isn't actually waterproof, so it's expensive to get them washed, repaired and re-proofed. Obviously, and totally understandably, nobody will repair rugs if they're not washed first, so I have to repair them myself, and I'll show you sort of what I do with that, sometimes with a bit of help in a little while. In terms of looking after them, I try, and if we have a nice sunny day like this during the winter and they're wearing them or not wearing them, if you see what I mean, so they're wearing them but not that day, I try to hang them inside out over the gates and stuff, like over that gate over there, so they get a nice airing inside. So I try and do that with the stable rugs during the daytime, and I do have not for all weights, but for several different sort of thicknesses of rugs, I have I'll try to have two, or I have sort of similar thicknesses, so that I can swap between them, so that they always have a dry rug to wear if they get soaking wet. In terms of drying them, I have, and actually threw it down with rain yesterday, and they had some thin rugs on yesterday to try and keep them dry, so they're hung up and they are dry now actually. But I have these racks here, which are brilliant most of the time. They aren't any good if it's windy, because they get blown off. So I've got this, as you will have seen in my other videos, I've got this undercover area with two open sides. When I like having the open side, because it means the wind comes through and does dry these rugs quite well, so it works pretty well, unless, as I say, it's really windy, because then they fall off, and obviously that's achieved nothing. But they're really useful a lot of the time. If it's too windy, I use clothes racks and put them in either the hay barn or in the stable I use for the feed, depending on how much space I've got and if I've got 2 or 3 rugs or whatever. They usually dry overnight unless it's really cold, so it does vary, and that's why having a couple of interchangeable rugs is useful, because if they don't dry overnight, obviously I don't want to put a wet rug on in the morning. So going on to sort of repairing turnout rugs, I've got out, you will have seen, I've got here one of Basil's rugs. Now this is the oldest rug I think, or certainly the most destroyed rug that Basil still has. It isn't hugely waterproof anymore simply because of the little holes it's got in it, but it's still a really nice rug. The reason it's my favourite is because it fits him so brilliantly, and it's got elasticated, you can't see, it's got elastic leg straps, which I don't understand why no one else does. I mean, although I've never seen I haven't seen another rug like it. They're fantastic. But as far as repairing them, I find leg straps go quite often, so I tend to save these. If a rug gets so destroyed that I can't use it again, I save these, and then I do some sort of repair, either with baler twine, or this is not the greatest way of doing it, but I've got an extra clip on there to try and keep that one going. It's the leg straps I find go most often. I also find this one hasn't done, but on some rugs, actually it's more Chesney's rugs, so Basil must do it to Chesney as opposed to the damage on this one that Chesney does to Basil. Basil must grab Chesney around the neck, because Chesney often has these ones broken, so these bits come off. So that tends to be what happens with Chesney. And what I tend to do is, once I have a rug that's totally ruined, I keep it and I use the material for patching, because you can see these patches don't match, and I use the clips for there, and the webbing to replace these. Now, I'm very lucky because I do have somebody who's pretty handy with a sewing machine, and has a very old sewing machine that we use just for fixing these sorts of things. So we do stitch some stuff. I am not that clever with a sewing machine, but we do sometimes put new straps on, or just sew the straps together if they've broken and I've found this. But I do keep them as well, so sometimes I get one from a different rug to go on. And the front straps I find last quite well. And you can see over here where this rug has been stitched along here and along here, if I'm not in the light. But mostly we super glue patches over. So when you, nowadays when you get a rug, you usually get like a little bit of material. I'm presuming they think this is going to be useful for patching. However, generally, as you can see, they're not big enough for the sort of patching I have to do on Basil's rugs. It obviously would work with like little holes like these little ones here, or perhaps these ones at the front here. It would go over those. But for the sort of tears that quite often happen to my rugs, it wouldn't work. Now you can see this one's coming, so this is the disadvantage of the way I tend to mend them, which is super glue a patch on, because it does eventually become unstuck with the mud, and I'm going to have to do something with that probably, although it's at the bottom so the water will run off, so it would be worse if it was the top. But basically what to do is, it's better if you can try and clear some of the mud off the rug first. So if it's a really muddy area, you obviously want it to dry out, and you need to try and brush as much mud off as possible so that it's relatively clean for the glue to stick to. And then let's find a spot. This spot probably. If this was just this little one and this patch that came with a different rug would work, but because of this bit, Chesney must have grabbed his backside. Anyway, all I would do is put super glue all the way around the edge on there, and across the middle, and then put lots on here as well. We'll stick it on and hold it down. And you could put like a book on it or something, or a bucket with something in it to make it heavy, until it dries, and that will last not too badly. I think this patch has been on here. I'm trying to think what this rug is, where this rug is from. I mean, it is starting to come undone a little bit, but I should think that's been on 3 years, that patch. This rug I've had quite a long time, as I say, and that's why it's my favourite rug, because it fits so well. So because it fits so well, I really try to keep that one going, because it's, as I say, it's not that waterproof because of all the holes in it, but it fits so well. It's really good when it's just cold. It's a relatively thick one, or relatively warm one. It doesn't look that thick, but it is a pretty warm one. So that's sort of what I try and do for fixing New Zealand rugs, drying New Zealand rugs, and I don't wash them. This is my little pot of straps, so straps cut off old rugs. I've got legs, a short strap in here. I've got more of these buckles. I also have some leg straps hung up here with lead ropes as well. So I tend to sort of keep stuff that's going to be useful in the future. As far as sort of, I call these waffle rugs. I'm not quite sure what they're supposed to be called because they have some sort of texture, and I use them if they're hot or if they need to dry out. So this is Chesney's, which looks very clean, because actually he doesn't wear that very often. Basil's is doesn't look so good. It's quite well worn, and is dual wash. So in terms of indoor rugs, I do try and wash them, varying amounts. The thin ones, just trying to get out the sun, the thin ones like that, the waffle rugs and summer sheets, are easy to wash. They just will go in the washing machine, and you can get special things to put the buckles in to stop them denting your washing machine. I have tried that in the past, but they tend to just come out of the bags. It must be right, but that's sort of what's always happened to me. Now, in terms of, this is my favourite rug for Basil, and now I haven't washed it this summer. I am going to try and wash it before he wears it over the winter, and it was washed last year. It just gets a little bit grubby around here, and on his shoulders here. This rug fits him fantastically. A lot of top riders talk about putting a summer sheet underneath a rug in the winter to stop the outside rug getting dirty, and the summer sheet, as I just said, are much easier to wash and keep clean. The problem I found, certainly with Basil, is that getting a summer sheet or a thin rug that fits properly. With him, I find that they rub more. They don't fit as well somehow. I think whether it's the material or what it is, they never fit as well as the slightly thicker stable rugs. So it doesn't work for me. Putting a thin rug underneath these, he always gets slightly more rubs. They always look a bit tighter across his withers and never look as comfortable. So I don't do that, but a lot of people recommend that, because then you can wash those thin sheets quite regularly and you've always got something clean against their skin. I've never had a problem with rugs rubbing because they've got a bit dirty on the inside. The horses are relatively clean because they're brushed obviously and clipped if they need to be. So as I say, it's not something I've ever done, but I know that the top riders and a lot of other people do swear by using a thin rug underneath so that can be washed easily. I did do a video washing rugs where I washed this one, so I'll pop a link in the box below to show you how I did that. It's not the most fun experience. They get so heavy when they're wet. You can obviously take them to rug washing places, which vary in how much they charge you, so it's obviously entirely up to yourself, but you can get special washing powder, liquid, shampoo-y stuff to wash your rugs with, which obviously is designed to be used for rugs. You need something good enough to get the grease off, really. I mean, that's the key thing. This one, as I say, it tends to get a little bit greasy around the top here, but however much you wash them, you can never get rid of all the shavings and stuff that stick to this part of them. And as you probably noticed with Basil's waffle rug, the shavings stick to that as well. So the summer sheets are quite good. The stuff doesn't tend to stick to them, but the shavings do stick to this one, which is quite frustrating, but I do like these. This again, Basil wears this. Basil wears that as a sort of the first stage in the winter. So he's when it's started to go cold at night before he's clipped, he tends to wear that, and it's okay, but it doesn't fit fantastically. It's a little bit gloopy. Is that a word? It's a little bit sort of hangs around his neck and his shoulders, really. And you know, horses are all different shapes, aren't they? So nobody's going to be able to make one to fit every single horse. So it is a bit tricky. Sometimes I find you try them on and they seem fine for 2 minutes while you're trying them, because that's all you can try them for. And then once you put them on for a long period of time, they don't fit. Was it dreadful? They're waiting for me to go and move the fence, aren't you? Look at that mud, all that rain yesterday, look at that mud. Monster. So I think I'm going to leave the video there today and go and move this fence for these greedy horses, and I'll see you again soon. So thanks very much for watching. Bye.